Hi and welcome back this week to challenge number 2. Yeah, huge success last week. There'll be a separate video with all the results, maybe a link up here somewhere, I don't know, hopefully down below. This week we're going to do a seascape. Yep, this is one that I haven't used. I used one out of a series of these, but I didn't use this particular one before. So that's up there. It's on the website with the NEF file as a DNG for the people who it's easier to convert with that, as a few people suggested. There's also a JPEG up there because we've had a few people edit on the iPhone as well, which is fantastic. It's nice to see it all being used. I'm going to run through and do an edit, and I'm actually going to do the edit this week on the iPad. I'm not going to use the computer. Everything is going to be done on here. So in a few minutes, I'm going to run through the process flow onto that, and you're going to see what I've done with it. But the important thing is what you guys do with it. It's great to see all the different ideas coming through. So on the website, there's also an email address that you can send your results through. That'd be brilliant into that. If you like this video, thumbs up, really appreciate it. Subscribe if you can to see for future updates, really appreciate it. Stick around if you want to see how I edit this picture, or if you just want to get straight into your own, just head off now, go and do it. Look forward to seeing the results and see you all soon. Okay, so we've got the original image. It's on the iPad. We're using Lightroom to edit this bit now. So we're just going to go in. I'm just going to level up the horizon because it is very slightly off, and this is just one thing that really annoys me, and that's an horizon that isn't straight. Yeah, I think it's a little bit too much. Let's bring it back a little bit, about there. So I'm looking at the gap from the left hand side to the right hand side to that nearest line to get that leveled up into there. So I've got a mark on the lens, which is obviously a bit of water spray or something. So I'm just taking that off and cloning that out into there because that annoys me. So I'm just doing that first before I do any corrections. There's another bit down the bottom there as well. I'm just having a little scout around on the image now just to see if there's any more that are going to be noticeable, and that's about it. So I'm not being too fussy on it, but it's just something just worth having a quick look and zooming in to find. Okay, so I'm just going to have a little play now with colour temperatures just to see what things look like. I'm not going to adjust it here, I'm just having an overall play. So by taking it into the warmer tones and the colder tones, I can see what looks good. It gives me an idea. Doing the same with the exposure to see how much play I've got in stuff. Now, obviously when I took this, it was on a D850. I've got a lot of play in those shadows, quite a few stops that I can play with, so that's fine. So literally, as I'm just this is an experimentation session. Okay, I'm just going to go into the gradient filters now, masks and everything in the Lightroom module. So I'm going to treat the sky differently to the other bits. So at the moment I'm just seeing if I want to include the sea in my colour, same colour as the sky, or whether I don't, and see what it looks like. It doesn't look brilliant, to be fair, so we're going to have it on the horizon line into there. Now one thing you will notice into that is the horizon line. The one thing you will notice on that is that actually the colour's gone through onto the lighthouse, and we don't actually want the colour on the lighthouse. So what we can do now we've built a mask, we can actually go in and we can erase. Now I have been doing that and we've just gone over on sky. So what I've just done, I've made a bit of a mess of it. So we just started again. I've just put and deleted that gradient mask, drop another one down, and we'll do this with a little bit more precision this time. So I can alter the colour, so the sky's got a nice sort of warm tone to it, which is nice. We're going to zoom in a minute into the lighthouse and the waves that go into that as well, the spray. So we're just erasing bits off on the horizon line at the moment, where it just gets into the sea a little bit, and we're just doing all the big bits, and then we'll start to zoom in and get a bit more detail. Now you can see it start on the lighthouse now, it's starting to come away. We're getting rid of the yellow tone off it. I don't want the yellow tone on the white lighthouse. It's not going to do it any favours. So we zoom in quite easily. Obviously I'm using the pencil on the iPad. It's the iPad Pro. So that makes it a little bit easier for me than if I was trying to do it with a finger. In fact, I don't think I could do it with a finger. I'd have to use a mouse or something. But as you can see, it's quite a difference in that. And we're going to do the top of the lighthouse as well. Obviously, you can do a lot more detail and get right into the nitty-gritty of it. I don't actually, we're just creating something here for that. If I was doing this for a massive print, I'd do it to that detail, but on this particular one I'm not. As you can see now, I'm just going through and playing with the spray that's coming up there because I actually don't want the same colour into that as well. So we're just going to remove that out of there. I'm just checking my brush size, my opacity. So what we're doing now, we've done a new little brush mask. We've done the new brush mask because I want to brush in the sea, because I want to colour the sea slightly differently, change the colour temperature on it. So I'm actually doing that. If I use a gradient mask, I'm not going to get it right. That was a mistake. So we just undo that bit there. That's the only thing with the iPad, when you try and move around the screen sometimes it doesn't register the second finger and it does a mark. So I'm not being too fussy with this. It's not the be all and end all. We're just going in and doing a few closer little bits around the edge. Now there are gaps on that, and I'll come back to that afterwards and just redo a little bit. But once I'm happy that that mask looks fairly okay, we'll experiment with the colour temperature and see what we want to change it to. Now if you notice, I've sort of realised that I want to shift the gradient of the sky up a little bit. It's a bit too much into the sea, so I've just shifted that up out of the way. And now we're experimenting with the sea. Now I can see bits on there now which obviously I've missed, I haven't been too careful with, so I'm just going over those now just to fill them in. Okay, so now we're doing a gradient mask for the foreground interest across the rocks there. And again, roughly does it, I'm not too worried, but I'm going to bring the shadows back so we've got some detail into there. Put the texture up because it's gritty rock. I want that grittiness in there. I want to show it. So we're just bringing that in. I've experimented with the dehaze, but I don't actually like it. I'm not going to use it. Colour temperature, I'm just going to drop it slightly. I experimented between warm and cold. Yeah, it's a bit extreme, but hey ho. So we've gone very subtly on the cold there, -9. And I've dropped I'm going to drop the saturation down a little bit. There we go, make it actually a little bit more cooler to match in, make that sky pop in its own right. Bring the shadows up a little bit more. There we go, I'm just looking through at the sky and the waves just to check. Now, we're going to select the selective masks again, and this time we're going to set the brush so we've got a fair pattern on it. It's not too transparent, and we're going to brush in whites and highlights, up the exposure slightly. We will as well on the white bits on the waves, just to make them stand out a little bit. I'm going to go around the whole picture, and just everywhere where it's white now, we're just going to brighten it and just make it pop. We're basically going to add contrast to this image. Okay, we're going to do a new one now, and so we've done the whites there, and we're going to do a new one, and we're going to do it for the shadows. So we're going to do exactly the same, but in the dark areas on the sea, and we're just going to make them that little bit dark, and that's going to give us the contrast between the two as well. As you can see, we just paint over all of those. There we go, it's just added a bit of contrast into the sea. That's before, that's after. Just zooming in now just to look at the detail areas, just to make sure it still looks alright. And to be fair, I think I'm fairly happy with that as a nice quick little edit. So if you like that edit, it'd be great to see how you do yours, what you can do with it. Be as imaginative as you want. I'm not precious about these things. If you want to bring some compositing in, bring some compositing in, that's great. If you like the video, thumbs up, really help, it would be great, thanks very much. Subscribe to see any future bits. Look forward to seeing you soon.